I make mistakes. I make mistakes a lot, and I tend to leave a lot of my mistakes in the videos. People don't get the misconception of just because you have to try 4 times to get what you want, that doesn't mean you're not going to be able to do it. It just means you're not quite there yet.
Hey everybody, I'm Jonathan, maker, designer, inventor, and Autodesker. Welcome to Shop Talk, the podcast series where we talk to makers, inventors, and designers from shop to shop. Today, we're talking to David Clackley from Clack Shack. He has an unrelated profession that he's about to retire from, and he's slowly turned his hobby into what's becoming a real business. He's a fun guy to talk to. He's got a lot of really good stories. So let's dive in. All right, David Clackley of the Clack Shack. Welcome.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
I think I said Clack Shock, but it's Clack Shack, which makes more sense.
Yeah, it's just a shack, and like I said, the Clack part, my last name is a little hard for people to say, so everybody's just always called me Clack, and so since it is a shack, it came up, it happened. My wife and my friends basically gave the building that name, and I just ran with it.
Yeah. Yeah. So how did you get into designing and making and all that? You got a YouTube channel. If people aren't familiar with it, that's how we found you. You were getting into Fusion a while back and we brought you into the creators program. And you've been kind of, it seems like going from real simple stuff and it just keeps getting more complicated as you move along. So can you tell us about that journey?
Yeah, well, I've always, since I was a kid, I've had a love of making things, creating things, improving things. Like I can look at something and go, "Hey, that works pretty well," but I wonder what would happen if I did this with it. And so that's kind of way my mind is geared. I've been in law enforcement for a long time. Did all basically anything you can do in law enforcement, I've done it. And I was getting to that point in my life to where I'm not going out doing the stuff that other people are doing. I just want to be at home, and I had some I guess you would say demons to deal with the job that were kind of burdening. Most people have stress, and it's a unique type of stress. And so, but I found that the creative side of me, once I let that roam and let that kind of fed that it would overpower any other things I had going on. And so I just leaned into it. Like I got to where I was making all kinds of little things. And I'd always use just traditional woodworking tools. I wouldn't call myself a woodworker. I was more of just casual woodworker. Maybe I could make a shelf. I could make like simple things, but I always wanted to do a little more exact, a little more precise things. I just never really had the tools to do it with, and so that's when I took what at the time was my pole barn, and decided I wanted to box it in so that when it's raining or it's windy or whatever, I can stay in here and make things. I can keep the wood dry and all that. So I literally started getting, tools, collecting tools, putting them in the shop, making things. And one day I was like, man, I'd really like to be able to like put text and stuff. Cause I would make something. And while I was making it, this was my therapy. And like I was in my head as I was making it, and something would come to me, like whether it was a Bible verse or just some little word of wisdom or whatever, and I'd hide it somewhere. Like I'd write it underneath the table or a shelf or something like that. And I was like, man, it'd be cool because I have a really poor handwriting on wood with markers. It'd be better if I had like a brand or a stamp or something like that. So that's when I started researching into laser engravers. I just wanted one to be able to mark stuff with. And so once I got that first laser, it just lit up the creative side of me. Was like, wow, I can do all kinds of things. And so it snowballed from there. And then from lasers I jumped over to CNCs, and then from CNCs I was like, oh man, this is awesome. So now I go to 3D printing, and it has been like all these different things. I like learning them. I am a victim of, I prefer, like I'll learn something enough to where I can do it, and then I'm through training for a while until I hit a wall. When I hit a wall, I'll go back in there. I'll learn what I need to learn to get past that wall, and then I'm back in the shop because I don't want to sit there, because just like with Fusion or I, I know enough to do what I need to do. But if I start to expand upon that, I have to sit down and watch you guys' videos on how to do this or how to do that. Because when I first got into 3D printing, I was like, man, I got all these laser cut files for boxes and little shapes and stuff like that. it'd be nice if I could bring those into Fusion, extrude those up and then slice them into a 3D print file. Now they got 3D printer. And so I had to, train myself on that. So it's just been a learning lesson, and I enjoy it. Like I said, it's something different. It's something that I've always had a love for creating and making. And it just, this is my therapy.
Yeah.
And it just, the deeper I get in it, the more I want to learn, the more creative I want to get. You can see like all these little 3D printed parts that are on these lasers and stuff. All those, I built those in Fusion. And like I said, I'm very simplistic with my Fusion creation. I'm getting better at doing different things. I'm wanting to do some 3D engravings with the CNC, and I know I can do it in Fusion, like for the wavy flags and stuff like
Sure.
that, STLs, and send them over. That's probably going to be my next learning block that I'm going to have to get into, because that's what I want to do. But, there are other softwares that will do it, but I've got this one already. I don't have to, I don't have to go looking for another software and get with it. So that's going to be my next, I think that's going to be my next little self-taught adventure that I'm going to go on.
Are there any projects in your near future that you really want to try that you're going to need to learn some new stuff for?
The 3D stuff with the CNC, being able to design the 3D stuff with the CNC, that's my that's the
Got a
biggest.
mouse up there? What's going on?
No, I think the dog may have spooked her. But that's the biggest thing, is the 3D stuff with the CNC, because 3D printing, most of the stuff that I 3D print, I'm not really 3D printing artistic things.
Yeah.
It's more of tools and utilitarian type stuff. But the CNC, I really want to be able to make three-dimensional designs. I want to be able to take and maybe take like a PNG of a flower or something and add contour to it and stuff like that. That's where I want to get to be able to do. Because I just think CNC and the sign and stuff like that, there's a place for it. But when you start getting into that 3D reliefs and stuff like that, I think that's where the profit margin is definitely going to be better. And I think eventually, the more accessible CNCs get in my area, because there's not that many now, but they're starting to pop up a lot more. I think, the simple charcuterie board or the simple sign is it's going to get to where that's not the sought after stuff. So I always want to keep evolving my capabilities and moving up into those type of things. And doing a little bit better with some of my molding of building of things. Because I do catch myself a lot of times when I'm trying to design something. It's like, I really want it to do this, but I'm just going to keep it simple and do it like that. So there are things that I could probably do and make it a little better as far as the rendering or the design. But because my skills are limited, I end up doing it the way I know, which is probably not the best way.
Sure.
So I do have to sit down and learn it a little more. I'm hoping that after retirement, and maybe I can get caught up on stuff and have like at least one day a week, to where I'm like, okay, I'm going to learn this new skill today. If nothing else, learn it so that I can maybe try to explain it to somebody else and kind of coach them on how it that I do it, how my mind works with it, because there are people that minds work differently. And so, because I have people that I watch their videos and I can't pick up what they're communicating, but then other people, it's like, okay, wow, I got that, So I think in order for me to be able to do that, I'm going to have to learn it more. And I watched a few of your videos and a few of the videos on, like I said, my go-to has been there's a few channels that I watch, and then I go to y'all's channel first, because I'm like, these guys are going to tell me the right way to do it. And if I can't get that to work with my head, then I'll go with one of these other guys and see if maybe they can give me the Cliff Notes version. So that's my go-to. I'm a visual learner with YouTube is one of my main tools. I can't sit and read a how-to sheet. I just can't. My mind doesn't work that way.
I can read how to if it's like, I don't know. I'm with you on that. It's funny watching. I think the reason a video tutorial for stuff like this is so much more useful is that it's really hard to describe in words a user interface. You know what I mean? it's not the same thing as like a recipe. You tell somebody, whisk this thing for 2 minutes. I mean, that's everybody knows what that means. But if you're having to go through and have a bunch of like snapshots and it tells you which drop down is where and where to find this thing and all that, it's like there's so much extra stuff in there that has to be there for you to get to the point. Whereas with YouTube or, any video platform, it's been such a game changer. Cause I remember learning this stuff, when I first got into 3D software, it was way back in the day, like 2002 is when probably the first time I touched that stuff. And at the time, you had to buy a book and kind of lumber through the book and try to figure that out. Most of the pictures are black and white because they can't afford the color and print and all that. And like, it's amazing now. I mean, you watch a clip and 3 minutes in, you got it. Um, are you, your stuff isn't really, I wouldn't call it tutorial necessarily. It's more like you kind of walk people through your thought process and what,
Yeah, it's more
what your
about
projects are.
yeah, I try not to get too technical because, as a lot of people will gladly point out to you, there's 110 ways to do something.
Sure.
Okay. My mind, like I said, my mind works different than other people's. And there are people that are like, oh, no, you shouldn't do it that. This is easier. Well, it may be easier to you, but to me, because of the way that I've learned it and the way that it's in my head, this is easier to me. I'm not a one size fits all kind of guy. So usually it's just typically, okay, this is my workflow. This is what I do. You can watch. Maybe there's some tricks that you want to learn. I may be doing some stuff wrong. If I am, I welcome people when they're like, hey, yeah, I saw you did this, but did you know that you could do this? And I'm like, well, no, I didn't, obviously. And so I'll try new things and kind of, I grow with the audience sometimes because a lot of these guys know more about this stuff than I do. And why they're watching the video, I don't know. I appreciate it, but they do. They actually know more about the software than I know. And a lot of them will tell you, yeah, I know the software inside and out, but I can't show people how to do it. It's just, that's not my thing. So I think it has and I think you have to have a mix of, I'm not scared to make a fool out of myself. I'm almost 50 years old. I've done that before. It's not going to be the first time I've made a fool out of myself. But I try to keep my channel to where instead of feeling like you're sitting in a college classroom and I'm lecturing you on how you should make something and you have to do it this way and there's no other way to do it, I like to keep mine as you're over at your uncle's shop or your dad's shop or your brother's shop or your friend's shop, and he's just showing you how he does something. That's where I want to stay because I just think that's what people want. If they want sure enough how-tos, they're going to go to you guys because you're
Sure.
the one that wrote the software. You know where all the shortcuts are. You know every little nook and cranny in that software. If they want to know how, if they're a 50-year-old guy that's getting ready to retire and they just bought a CNC and they want to know how other guys in that situation do it, then they come watch my video because that's what we're doing. We're plowing through this like a bull in a briar patch because there's obstacles, but so that's kind of where I want to land. I don't want to be overly polished. I don't want to be, like I said, I want to be me, just me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what a lot of the feedback that I get from my audience is, it's like, hey, I look forward to coming in the house, sitting in the recliner, and it's like stopping by my buddy's house on the way home.
Yeah.
And having a drink and just seeing what he's working on in the shop. And that's the draw. It's not necessarily that I'm a guru. I consider myself to be decent at most of it. I make mistakes. I make mistakes a lot. And I tend to leave a lot of my mistakes in the videos.
Yeah.
People don't get the misconception of just because you have to try 4 times to get what you want, that doesn't mean you're not going to be able to do it. It just means you're not quite there yet.
Yeah.
Persistence is a virtue. And I've always been a very persistent person. And that's kind of what I don't want to look down on people or be like, oh, you don't know how to do this. Oh, shame on you. That's not me. That's, like I said, I don't know. I've trained police officers and I've been an instructor in almost anything you can do in law enforcement. And I've trained from tasers to rappelling to sniper rifles to you name it. And I feel like a lot of time I've been to college. I've been in college courses. I did computer forensics and IT work for several years. And then I decided I want to go back to school and get my degree in networking. So I went took some networking classes, and you had this instructor up there that is well qualified, master degree, and networking, blah blah blah. Nobody in the classroom could understand what
Yeah.
this instructor's trying to teach them. I sat down in a small group out in the hallway with these kids because they were all younger than me because I was like 45 years old, and they pick it up in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So I think people, like I said, different people learn different ways, and
Yeah.
that's my thing. If learning's not fun, 9 out of 10 people aren't going to do it. They're just not. I mean, not unless you make them. And
Right.
that was one of my things because I struggled. Like I've been doing IT work, computer forensics for years, but I struggled not with the work, but with the instruction from the teachers.
Mhm.
So I don't want to be that guy. That's not me.
Yeah.
What is that machine behind you? I saw it in one of your videos the other day. I was watching a couple of your videos. It's a CNC, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah. It's a Tormach PCNC 440. So
Oh,
um let's see. The
okay. I see the name
work
brand.
area is about 24 inches by 10 inches by 6. Um
That's what a six. Is it a 6 axis?
no, 3.
Is this a 3 axis?
Yeah, you could do a rotary attachment. I don't know if we
I couldn't tell it. I can't. Like I said, it just the way it's built. It kind of looks like it would be like a 6 axis machine.
No, they I mean there are 6-axis machines that size, but they're usually quite a bit bigger. It takes a lot more space to get all those motors in there. Yeah, we're in the pie shop here in Portland, so um, it's a small space, kind of a prototyping shop. We don't have a whole lot. There's this machine. We got some Formlabs 3D printers. There's a
Oh, yeah.
Epilog
I want one of
CNC
those so
laser.
bad. I want one of the. I saw them at CES,
Yeah,
and the guy like was trying to sell me on one, and he gave me this little part that they 3D printed, and I'm like,
yeah.
I really want one of those.
That
I
looks like it might have been done on the Fuse One. Is that a nylon print?
It's some kind of. It's almost. It feels like a metallic, like a carbon type material.
Yeah, that's probably on the Fuse One.
But he said it was on the $50,000 printer.
Yeah, we've got one of those too. It's pretty new. Been trying it a little bit, but their resin printers are really good too. I'd definitely recommend those. We've got an older one here, but yeah, the new ones are you can do some the resolution is super high on those machines compared to what you can get on a FFF printer, and they take longer usually, but high resolution, and they've got some materials on those things that are real durable. They're not
Yeah,
quite
blue,
as
like glass.
yeah, yeah. There's some truly see-through clear material. They've got they have a tough material that's really tough. It just, it really can take a beating. Good for prototyping and stuff like that. But yeah, we got those. I mean, we have our big facilities in Birmingham in the UK. That's a high end, like, full CNC. They do parts for Rolls-Royce and stuff like that. So, that's where the really good stuff is. And then we have another shop in San Francisco that my desk was there for several years before we moved up here. But we've got some pretty fancy CNC machines there too. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, it's in principle, it's not much different from your CNC router. It's just you get higher precision, automatic tool changing, stuff like that starts to come with it. You can do the coolant makes it possible to do carbon steel and all kinds of really, um, uh, what's the word? Like really rigid materials, metals, those kinds of things. Um, yeah, it's a big world though, man.
Yeah. Well, my buddy, I know Cody from Cadence Manufacturing does the CNC bits.
Uh-huh.
Got that machine that he uses to make the bits with, and that thing is amazing. Like
Oh
it's
yeah.
massive, but it is amazing.
Yeah.
But we actually have a CNC fabrication business here in town.
Uh-huh.
As they have like big commercial, like dual head, like CNCs, like
Hmm.
10, was it 10? I think they're most of them are like 10 by 8 or something
Yeah.
like that. They're massive bed space.
Big
They
tool
got
magazines and all that,
Yeah,
automatic tool
they got
change.
magazines on them for the tools, and
Yeah.
they run like up like 3/4. Most of them that I saw were 3/4 inch end mills,
Yeah.
and it's amazing. And I went by there and actually got some of their scrap materials to test out with my machine.
Uh-huh.
it works pretty good. It's like some PVC and some other
Uh-huh.
materials. They've
Yep.
actually got one plastic that they said is stronger than steel, but he
Hmm.
said it chews the bits up really bad. So I haven't really played with it because I don't want to, you
Huh.
know, the
Wonder what
stuff that
that
I
is.
make. I don't know. It's
Delrin's a really good material for a CNC router. I don't know if you've ever tried that. It's kind of expensive, but it's super stable. So it doesn't respond at all to humidity or heat or anything. DELRIN. It's just a plastic. It comes in black and white, as far as I know.
that may be what he said it was. Oh,
It
hang
could
on.
be.
Hang on.
I mean, it's really, I've seen, I've seen parts, machine parts made with it before. You wouldn't do it for most, you need metal for most, let's
That's the
see.
material.
Yeah, that could be Delrin. Yeah.
It doesn't. Like, let me find a piece. Let me find something I can tap it with. This metal. Like it doesn't sound like plastic.
Hmm. I don't know what that is. That doesn't
It
look like
almost
Delrin to
sounds
me.
like ceramic or something.
Yeah. I don't
But
know what that is. That's Delrin is got kind of a shiny surface and it's obviously plastic, but
this
um
and I
Corion's another one. I don't know if you've ever played around with that, but it cuts really easy. And they make countertops out of it and stuff, but that's a cool material to work with. You can really step down your end mills to get, fine finish passes and stuff. And, it responds really well to that kind of thing. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like a lot of times the stuff that people want from you is solid wood, right? Like that's the
oh
stuff
yeah,
people really value. If they see something
that
made of plastic, doesn't
that's
matter if the plastic actually
typically
costs more than wood would.
yeah, that's typically what they want, and that's typically what I work with too. Because for me, especially the mediums, I know if it's wood, my end mills are going to be fine. It's not going to damage them. The machine, I got my speeds and feeds. I do play around with some plastics. Like I said, I've got some other plastics that are over there. It's like a PVC. It's three-quarter of
Huh?
an inch thick. I mean, it's good for making like little holders, or like if you were wanting to make templates for cutting out cutting boards or something like that. It'd be great. You
Hmm.
want something a little more sturdy than say clear acrylic or plexiglass. You could use it. But yeah, that's most of what I do is either going to be metal. I mean, wood. I do some aluminum. I've actually machined a few parts. I did a video. Matter of fact, I did a video on it where I took I bought a boat and there was a bracket. It was basically like a U-bolt clamp type thing, but it was missing the part that the nuts backed up on. And instead of running around town trying to find it or breaking out the cutting torch and the welder, I just grabbed me a piece of flat bar
Yep.
over to the CNC, went into Fusion, drew it up, and made me a little file. Yeah, I did it in Fusion because I rendered it and everything. Pretty sure I did it. I may not have did it in Vigor. I don't remember which software I used, to be honest with you. But anyway, I
Yeah.
drew it up and cut it out and put it on the boat trailer, and it worked great. And it was just a piece of like maybe 3/8 thick aluminum,
Yeah.
but it worked, and
I
I've
love
leveled
that stuff. I mean,
it
it's
zero
the
to
high
it.
tech homestead, right? I mean, if you've got an old house or you've got any kind of property, you buy used stuff, whatever it is, there's so many opportunities to do that. You might find something that basically someone just throws away because there's one little piece missing like that. There's one super simple thing that you could easily do. Go into Fusion and, do a little plate with two holes in it, put the bar in your CNC machine and off you go.
Like one of the things that scared me about the fiber lasers is the lens covers that ship with were black, and so
Hmm.
you put that lens cover on there and you not think about it, and
Uh-huh.
you could ruin a lens really quick.
Yeah.
So I actually went into Fusion and designed these, and it's
Nice.
got the text that says "remove before
Love
lasering."
it. Dead simple.
Made it to where it fits the lens, and it literally just snaps on there.
Yep.
So that took me. I'm not trying to brag, but I've gotten to where that took me like 5 minutes. I think it took me longer to get everything loaded and save a new file than it
Yeah.
did actually design it.
Oh yeah, for sure. I could see that, that's your training coming in there. I'm thinking of those little range safety flag things and
Yeah.
it's sort of like, I mean, that's your instincts from your day job are
Well,
coming
I
in.
did. I did use. I used the other day. Matter of fact, I was going to Las Vegas to CES, and I needed to transport my firearm. And I was like, how much more safe would the TSA agent guy feel when he opens that box and there's this bright orange insert showing that
That it's unloaded.
and so I went into
Yeah.
Fusion real quick, 45 caliber, blah, 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 put a little tab
Nice.
on there and had it like it had a little handle sticking out the side, printed it, stuck it in there in the box, for the TSA box and everything.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, I'm gold. These guys,
Yeah.
will be happy about it. So to me, the 3D printer and to being able to take software and think about it and design it, man, it's a game changer.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to make everything out of wood. Like I've got mounts for my camera stuff. I've got mounts for my microphones and just organizational stuff. My wife the other day, that's another video I did. Our trash can broke, and she just bought this trash can. It's like $80 for a trash can because it has a little pedal, and you can step on it, and it raises up. Well, it was, I'm guessing, like insert molded or whatever. But anyway, where the pedal was, one side of the little plastic piece just snapped off.
Yep.
And so the pedal was just flopping. Well, she went all over town trying to find another trash can. She was just going to replace it. And she came back. She's like, I can't find another trash can, but I want this kind of trash can. And so I was like, well, I can try to fix it, but I don't know that I can, because it's plastic. And so I was like, let me take it. So I went and took it out on the back porch, came out here, got my calibers, got my little notepad and a pen, and I drew out a little part. And I made me a little part basically where it broke, where it would slide over it and put it back together. And it's been probably 2 months now. That trash can still works.
Well, yeah, it's better than it was to begin with because they did a cheap injection mold.
Yeah, it's PLA. I made it. I was like, what am I going to hold up? It's PLA. But if it lasts for a little while, I'll load some PETG and then we'll do it, make it a little harder. I haven't quite upgraded to a printer capable of doing, ABS and some of the other materials yet.
Yeah, you need a heated chamber for that.
Yeah, when I get my bigger shot where I got more room, I want to do that. But right now, my 3D printer lives on my computer desk in the living room in the house.
Yeah,
and so I can't go to the A1 is plenty big enough. I don't want to go into like the X1 carbon just yet because that's where I plan on going. And I know there's a lot of drama right now with surrounding all those, but to me, for what I use it for, it works great.
It's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, David, usually this is the part of the podcast where I ask you about the zombie apocalypse and what tool you would want to keep, if you could only keep one to rebuild your shop, but you're already on a homestead. I think if the zombie apocalypse comes, you're really not going to notice a whole lot.
Yeah, well, I will say that I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but you can actually design crossbow bolts and tips in Fusion and
Sure.
CNC them with the proper rotary attachment.
Yeah, not a bad idea.
Or you can just use regular wood dowels.
Yeah.
But no, it's the shot, like I said, it is a blessing. I have people, my wife makes fun of me because I have people like, hey, I want to come hang out at your shop with you. People that don't know me, like they're driving 2 states over. And she's like, do they know that it is just a shack? That's not like, it's not a stage. It's not, do they understand that is exactly what that building is? And I told her, I said, hey, it's cool. I love it. So why wouldn't other people love it?
Yeah. It's awesome, man.
No, the CNC, I enjoy the 3D printer. I enjoy, but as far as the days after, I would say 3D printer would probably be my friend because I could make creative stuff. The CNC though, I mean, I've got aluminum. I've got a smelter. I've built my own smelter for aluminum to where I could melt cans down and make things out of them.
Nice.
So, with the CNC and enough aluminum cans, I could build some pretty awesome stuff.
Love it. I'm coming to your house. And can you tell us where to find you?
Well, primarily YouTube is my go-to. I do have a Facebook, especially for local marketing and stuff like that. So you can find me on Facebook as well. YouTube is where the bulk of my presence is going to be. I mean, I got the others, TikTok, Instagram, and all that, but YouTube and Facebook are kind of my go-to.
Well, David, thanks so much for coming, man. This is it's an interesting story. Thanks for sharing it with us. I'm excited to see where you go next. Yeah, well, I'm hoping we continue to grow and have fun and enjoy retirement. That's my goal. I know you will. Cheers, man.
Yes, sir.
Hey, everyone. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay up to date with all things Shop Talk. If you're ready to try Fusion 3 yourself, find the link in our description.